What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Sunshine Cup featuring the common Zygarde 50% form and XL Oddish core with Shadow Victory Belt as the save swap. Okay, but in all seriousness, I was actually able to gain 130 elo with this team, including that 100% IV level 50 Oddish, although I will say of course Shadow Vic was certainly a lot better than the Oddish, but still Oddish held its own in some of these matchups. Like yesterday's video, this team is incredibly weak to ice, yet I was able to overcome several Abomasnow leads, beat a Piloswine and an Ice Fang Hippowdon, so despite the glaring weakness, this team clearly still has play into ice types. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which XL Pokemon that got buffed this season would you like to see me build next? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Zygarde into Shadow Gygar. So this is probably where we want to see it. Not the most comfortable matchup. I will need to full send an Outrage. Bulldoze, of course, going to be double resisted. The opponent is going to go ahead and fire off an Aerial Ace straight away. I'm actually just going to go ahead and throw that Outrage immediately here. Outrage is going to be no-shielded. And the opponent is going to come in with a fire type, but it's Blaziken, so I swap into my Shadow Victory Belt, but I'm met with a Typhlosion. I'm actually going to go for the Leaf Blade here, recognizing the opponent might let that go through, knowing they can tank it. And now, if the opponent does throw immediately here, we can come in with the Oddish, get off that acid damage, and I won't need to tank a single Incinerate's worth of damage here. They go for a Thunder Punch bait, doesn't matter, we get that farm down. And now here, all I need to do is make sure I'm able to catch a charge move onto my Zygarde. I don't need to throw a move with the Oddish at all. We're resisting the counters. I'm going to swap out as the opponent reaches another Blaze Kick. The opponent can undercharge this if they want to. Actually, very nice undercharge, but it doesn't really matter. Oddish able to acid, farm down the Blaziken, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into next battle. We're going to see Abomasnow in the lead. So, of course, this is the Nightmare lead, but we're going to swap out. I do actually throw one Dragon Tail first, just because if the opponent's on Weather Ball there, they will outpace me to the charge move anyways, so I might as well stay in and go for a Dragon Tail first. And now the opponent's going to come in with a Credilli. They have actually gone for an Icy Wind there, debuffing my attack. However, two Leaf Blades will get Credilli very low, so you actually grab a shield back from the opponent. I definitely don't mind that, and the opponent is going to throw just before we reach a third Leaf Blade. Rock Tomb gets the KO from that range, but that's absolutely okay. I can come in with my Zygarde. I'm not planning on shielding anything they throw here, as of course a Weather Ball going to hit for double super effective damage, so I will just no shield. They go for the Grass Knot there, dealing decent damage, but we come out with an Outrage loaded, so I am full sending it right off the bat here. Outrage gets the one shot. They've got a Swampert in the back, and that's absolutely game over. Oddish able to fire off that Seed Bomb straight away. Seed Bomb gonna be no shielded. It gets the one shot. The opponent recognizing they can't beat the Oddish, and so we're able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into next battle, neutral lead. I'm going to swap into my Shadow Victory Belt, and I'm met with a Piloswine. So, I'm going to try and throw on CMP. It doesn't work out for me. The opponent is going to overfarm, and if they want to, they can go for a very aggressive double shield and full Powder Snow farm down, and the opponent looking to do exactly that. That is really not ideal for me since, as I mentioned, the entire team is going to be weak to ice. However, the opponent is going to waste some turns here by throwing charge moves, which might allow Oddish to actually catch up and reach a Seed Bomb. The opponent fires off back-to-back Icicle Spears here. I should be able to reach a charge move on CMP, and Oddish turns out wins CMP in this matchup. That is amazing for me. A Seed Bomb gets the KO there. They're going to come in with Credilli. They're on Bullet Seed. I'm going to swap out, catch what I'm presuming to be a Rock Tomb onto Zygarde, where it will be resisted. I expect the opponent will eventually swap back into Breloom, and that's absolutely fine. This is what I want. The opponent is going to, of course, tank a Bulldoze here. I actually go for a slight undercharge just to get more energy on the Oddish. The opponent forced to throw a charge move here. They go for Dynamic Punch, but that's okay, as actually I put them into range, but I don't need to take a single Force Palm. And whilst, yes, Rock Tomb is going to hit for neutral damage, Oddish, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever. I should still live this, and I will, of course, double resist the Bullet Seeds. I could have gone for the Seed Bomb there, but instead, we're going to full send the Sludge Bomb. Oddish gets the KO up against Credilli, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Kanto Marowak. Now, this is actually kind of awkward for me. I've got double grass in the back. However, if I swap into my Shadow Victory Bell straight away, presumably in the 2-shield scenario, they can just double shield and fully mud start farming down. I haven't actually played out the matchup, but I assume they've got quite a lot of fast move pressure with those mud slaps. So I do stay in, look to grab a shield from the opponent, and now we're going to come in with our Shadow Victory Bell, fire off the Leaf Blade, and the opponent will not be able to farm me down before I reach a second Leaf Blade, and this should be getting a final shield from the opponent. So at this point, unfortunately, Zygarde is so low, usually a complete wall to the Makago, but I'm kind of forced to shield here. The opponent's probably going to go for a Rock Tomb, and they do, and the opponent is actually going to swap back into the Marowak. I'm able to win CMP, and again, I'm going to slightly undercharge this, but I think I might have undercharged it a little bit too much here. What I was hoping for was to put them into perfect acid farm down range for the Oddish, but unfortunately, that was just barely not enough there. So, forced to use a shield. The opponent is going to go for a rock slide there, and then here, I panicked. I just threw straight away. This is actually a winnable game for me. There, I undercharged this, try to pull this back, put them into farm down range, but once again, the undercharge does not work out for me. What I should have done instead was just farm up to back-to-back seed bombs, and presumably Oddish winning CMP up against Makago. I could have won that game there, but a little bit of a panic there, and I do end up losing. But interesting ABA double mud slap team from the opponent there. But anyways, GG's to that trainer into next battle. Another Abomasnow in the lead. So once again, I'm going to go for one Dragon Tail and then swap out there, as the opponent is going to fire off a Weather Ball this time around. I'm looking to throw on CMP, going for a Leaf Blade, and from this range, honestly, Leaf Blade will get the KO, and the opponent mistakenly throws on CMP, losing CMP. A Shadow Victory Bell grabs both shields from the opponent. However, unfortunately, I still haven't quite put them into acid farm down range for my Oddish before they will reach another Weather Ball. So we come in, they will just barely get there. So at this point, I'm actually going to save my shield for my Zygarde here, and the opponent's going to come in with a Gastrodon. I'm going to go straight for the Seed Bomb here. Seed Bomb, double super effective. It actually does not get the KO, but they have got a Swampert in the back, and this should be game over. Now, Zygarde is tanky enough to take a Hydro Cannon reasonably well there, but I might as well use my final shield there. Gastrodon not going to reach a charge move. Outrage gets the KO. I can just Dragon Tail, farm down the Gastrodon, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We're going to see Flygon in the lead. So, battle of the ground and dragon type Pokemon here. We are going to stay in this matchup. They're going to outpace me to the first move. I'm going to shield this, and then I'm going to commit to a full Dragon Tail farm down. However, we put them in a really awkward range where I probably should have just swapped into my Victory Bell there, get a slight energy advantage, and not have to tank another Dragon Claw's worth of damage on the Zygarde, as we are incredibly low. But we come in with the Shadow Victory Bell. Kind of have to no shield here. Rock Tomb, gonna do decent damage, but they've got an Oranguru in the back. This is the only Psychic-type Pokemon I think I've seen in this cup, and unfortunately, they will very comfortably be able to take out my Oddish here. We're going to come in with the Oddish anyways. We're going to play this out. The opponent might actually go for a Trailblaze here, which is double resisted, but it grabs my final shield. It boosts up those confusions, and there's just nothing I can do anymore. We fire off the Seed Bomb, grab the final shield. We don't even tank the next confusion. We come in, we get confusion down with our Zygarde as well, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to that trainer into the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Swampert. I'm going to say swap into my Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm met with a Gust Pidgeot, but I'm going to go straight for Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb not going to be shielded, and the opponent expecting to get the farm down there actually gets farmed down themselves, and I come out with a Leaf Blade loaded. Now, unfortunately, it is a Talonflame, but they've just been hit by a Sludge Bomb. They overestimate the energy there and end up shielding, which is amazing for me. The fact that Victory Bell just took switch advantage up against that Pidgeot there and grab the shield up against Talonflame is actually incredible. But we're going to come in. They go for Sludge. Sludge does not get the KO. However, what it does do is put us into range where they can just mud shot farm me down. So suddenly, whilst it looked really good for me to flip switch advantage, I'm actually in a bit of an awkward situation here. I'm going to shield this. I'm going to continue to overfarm as I realize I need a move for that Talonflame. So the opponent fires off the charge move there. They swap back into Talonflame, but I can go for the Outrage, and I do not take the Incinerate damage. Outrage gets the KO there. I'm one away from the Bulldoze, and Zygarde able to sweep this game here. Bulldoze takes out the Shadow Swampert, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Zygarde into a Victory Bell. So, at this point, I am going to try to make a catch, but I did not expect the opponent to throw straight away here. So, of course, going to let the first move go through here. I'm going to fire off a Bulldozer, expecting to grab a shield here, but the opponent, since they're non-shadow, they might actually let it go through. They do. We drop that defense, though, and I can now swap out, catch the double resisted Leaf Blade onto my own Victory Bell, but I'm going to be hard punished by a Shadow Pitcher, and this time not even going to reach a Sludge Bomb. I'm forced to settle for the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade does at least connect. I needed that to connect there. However, we're not in the best position. The opponent actually can just swap out there, and they swap into a Licky Tongue, and things are just not looking too good for me. I need to drop the defense there and grab a shield. I get neither of those things, and at this point, it's game over. I'm actually just going to no-shield the first move. They're on wrap, so they're going to actually drop my defense, and these licks are now starting to chunk. There's just not a lot I can do here. I'm going to fire off the Seed Bombs anyways. Seed Bomb is going to be shielded by the opponent. I can reach another Seed Bomb before they fully farm me down here, but it just doesn't really matter at this point. The opponent can come out with another wrap loaded. I will shield here. If the opponent stays in and somehow I get a full Dragon Tail farm down, maybe I can win this game. But no, they're just going to swap instantly into the Pidgeot. And of course, Gus takes out the Zygarde, and I do lose that game. But GG's to that trainer there. Once again, losing to a bit of a weird Pokemon in that Licky Tongue in the back there. So I found this team did pretty well into like the really common Pokemon, but I really struggled when I saw a Pokemon that I just wasn't really expecting to see. But anyways, we are going to say swap into our Victory Bell. The opponent actually grabs a shield first with the Aerial Ace, but I'm able to grab a shield back with my own Victory Bell up against this Magcargo. However, they do get an extra Incinerate in that farm down, but it doesn't really matter. We can just sponge the damage on the Zygarde. The opponent fires off the Rock Tomb first, fine with me. The opponent is now going to commit to an Overheat most likely, but is still resisted. So we can tank that relatively comfortably. Go for the farm down. I'm debuffed, so I'm actually going to swap out straight away into the Oddish, and Oddish will be able to tank an Aerial Ace a little bit more comfortably than our Shadow Victory Bell. So I'm going to no-shield this. The opponent's staying in with Serperior. So actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm reading it's going to be like some sort of Water-type Pokemon in the back. So I double shield there, but unfortunately, it is not. It's going to be Credilli. However, we can go for Seed Bomb. They are on Bullet Seed, so of course, hitting for very little fast food pressure. I can fire off another Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb not going to be shielded, and I'm able to reach another Seed Bomb before they throw. They're looking to throw on good timing, but it doesn't matter as now we can snipe them with the Bulldoze on the Zygarde, and also Serperior very low at this point. One Dragon Tail gets that farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent into next battle. We're going to see Zygarde into Magcargo. So this is the dream lead here. The opponent is going to stay in with Magcargo. So that's very interesting. Possibly weak to the Zygarde in the back here. Potentially having something like a, I don't know, maybe a Flygon in the back, as the opponent would, of course, take super effective damage. And they do. They're going to swap into Flygon. But we can fire off the Bulldoze. Bulldoze grabs a shield from the opponent, which is huge for me. Excuse me there, and now I'm going to shield. I should be able to outpace them to back-to-back Leaf Blade, so I'm going to farm up 2 back-to-back here, and I will now throw. Leaf Blade going to be coming through. It is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and the opponent comes back in with Magcargo, so I go for 1 extra acid, fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade going to be no-shielded, and they've got a Ferrothorn in the back, so of course, they're going to resist everything here. It doesn't matter though, because I've got Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb still does decent damage. The opponent not able to farm me down here before I reach another Leaf Blade. We come in with the Zygarde. I believe they're over 100 energy right now. They no-shield the Bulldoze. That hits for neutral damage. It drops the defense. There's just nothing they can do at this point. We come in with our Oddish. They blind throw. This is just going to be a Power Whip. It's double resisted. And the opponent is just going to concede the match. So, GG's to the opponent there into the next battle. We're going to see Shadow Flygon in the lead. So, we're going to stay in this matchup. They will outpace me to that first charge move. And actually, neither of us are going to throw a move there, looking to get the extra Dragon Tail through when the opponent throws. And as a result, it's a simultaneous KO. However, I recognize instantly, I believe I mentioned this in yesterday's video, but this is going to be the FP6 team with Flygon in the lead for it as the Say Swap and Talonflame in the back. So here I do outpace them. I could look to throw on CMP, but I predict a catch, so I don't end up throwing. And as a result, the opponent able to grab my final shield. I'm still predicting a Talonflame in the back. So here we fire off the Leaf Blade. At this point, I don't want to get too low, and they finally do end up making that catch. I knew what Pokemon it was, and yet they're still able to make the catch there. So at this point, we come in, we do outpace them to the Sludge Bomb though. That is huge for me. Sludge Bomb! Just barely doesn't get the KO though. That is super unfortunate. Maybe if I best buddy boosted an Oddish here, I could have got the KO, but either way, they were just one away from their next charge move, so I think they could have thrown into my Oddish, farmed down my victory belt anyways, and unfortunately, I still would have lost that game. But GG's to a trainer there into the next battle, and I will say, for some reason, the recording, stopped midway through this battle. I got a phone call there and it randomly stopped my recording, which is very strange. My phone is a gaming phone and I had it set into gaming mode, and I have all alerts turned off, so nothing should interrupt the sort of battle here, but somehow it still managed to do so. That's just very strange. But they're gonna have an Ice Fang Hippowdon here, which is definitely not ideal since the opponent does still have 2 shields. Of course, I did just grab one of them, and at this point I'm kind of forced to shield this because I need to grab the final shield from this Hippowdon. So we're gonna fire off the Seed Bomb here. Seed Bomb should be grabbing that final shield. They will be able to Ice Fang farm me down, and now we've got our Shadow Victory Bell here. I think what I need to do is farm up and then swap out just before I reach a Leaf Blade, expecting the opponent to throw just before the CMP tie, and they actually full send the Scorching Sands. I'm now going to overfarm. They swap back into the Ursa Ring. I couldn't really remember how much energy they had, so I farm up to 1 away from back-to-back charge moves, and I'm just barely able to live the Ice Fang, fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to up over there into the next battle. We're going to see Obstagoon in the lead. Now, I did see a video today from It's Axon, and it seemed like Obstagoon that he was using won every single lead matchup ever, but this trainer, unfortunately for them, neutral matchups, I don't think Obstagoon's really that good. And here we're going to go for a Leaf Blade, and Leaf Blade unfortunately just barely not going to be enough damage to get the KO, but I will throw it on CMP. The opponent did actually force our first shield there as they were on Night Slash rather than Aerial Ace. I was looking to throw on CMP with the Aerial Ace that first time around, but of course being 1 turn faster to the charge move, it did catch me off guard. But anyways, going to come back in with the Zygarde. I'm going to sponge 1 charge move and then eventually swap into my Oddish. Now the opponent's going to go for an Obstruct, which I definitely don't think is the play. Obstruct is just an awful move. When you think about how good moves are like Rock Tomb, like Parabolic Charge, which either boost or drop attack or defense or whatever, guaranteed. Obstruct, whilst it boosts your own defense and debuffs the opponent's, it does 0 damage at all. It's just an awful charge move. But here anyways, we're going to go for a Seed Bomb, throwing once again on CMP, and we actually get the KO. The opponent, since they went for Obstruct there, they're actually not even able to reach a charge move up against the Oddish, so we grab the final shield. We can come in with our Zygarde, and even if they do boost up their defense, it does not matter. The Zygarde is 1 Dragon Tail away from the Outrage, and of course, Outrage is going to be enough to take out the Obstagoon, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to up in there into the next battle. You can see an Abomasnow in the lead once again. So, once again, going to stay in, swap out after 1 Dragon Tail, swap into our Shadow Victory Bell here. And again, going to shield. The opponent is going to go for a Weather Ball, then swap into Credilli, but that's okay with me. I can grab a shield back from the opponent, as I will be able to reach back-to-back Leaf Blades here. First one does big damage. I can throw the next one on the CMP tie, winning CMP, and I'm able to grab a shield back. Now at this point, Rock Tomb will be getting the KO here. I'm going to come back in with my Zygarde, and once again, if they do reach a Grass Knot, I'm not going to bother shielding, as I do need to save my shield for another Weather Ball from that Abomasnow. So the opponent is going to fire for the charge move. They do full send the Grass Knot there. We come out once again with the Outrage loaded, so I'm just going for it straight away. Outrage does not get the KO this time around, so I snipe with the Oddish, and they've got a Shadow Golurk in the back. Now this is unfortunately very awkward for me. They do throw on poor timing there, which gives me a full acid in for free. However, the best that's going to do is allow me to reach a second Seed Bomb on the CMP tie, and whilst Oddish, not bulky, it's also not that attack weighted either, so we lose CMP. Shadow Punch gets the KO there, and unfortunately they can just Mud Stab, farm down the Zygarde, and I do lose that game. But GG's to a trainer into the next battle. We're going to see a Clodsire in the lead. So this is a good lead matchup for me. The opponent's going to say swap into Furret. Now I don't have a great response to Furret, so I'm actually just going to stay in initially here. Chip with the Dragon Tail damage. Then swap into my Oddish, recognizing that Oddish, not the most dominant Pokemon, even in good matchups. So I don't really mind just letting it go down here. So I'm going to overfarm here, throw on CMP, and win CMP with the Oddish. Seed Bomb from this range gets the KO there, which is fine with me. Unfortunately, I have put myself myself into range where they can farm me down with the Clodsire, but I'm going to overfarm here, fire off that Seed Bomb at the last second. Doesn't really do too much damage there, and of course, Acids were double resisted, so didn't really chip with the fast moves at all, but the opponent's going to come in with Credilli, and that's fine with me, especially since they're on Bullet Seed. I'm going to shield this up here. I don't really want to tank a Rock Tomb. Whilst I can tank it, it will put me into Poison Sting farm down range. So I realize I can outpace the opponents here. Gonna fire off the Leaf Blade. Gonna go for a second Leaf Blade here before they do reach another Rock Tomb. Leaf Blade number 2 grabs the final shield there. And at this point, I'm recognizing we've thrown 4 charge moves. So the opponent will be able to swap out. I'm going to swap, catch the charge move there. I was hoping to at least reach a Bulldoze, but unfortunately, the best I can do there is just catch on the charge move there. But either way, I can now farm up 2 back-to-back Leaf Blades. First one, gonna do big damage there. The second Leaf Blade looks to be a CMP tie, which we win. Leaf Blade gets the KO, and again, Shadow Victory Bell will be able to outpace the Credilli coming back in, and another Leaf Blade will be enough damage to get the KO here. I think the opponent has just quit out of the app at the last second. Kind of pointless there, but GG's to that trainer. So heading into next battle, we're going to see Zygarde into Credilli. So I'm going to stay in this matchup initially here, wait for the opponent to inevitably just go for a Rock Tomb and debuff my attack, which is not going to do much damage, and then I will swap out of this matchup into my Shadow Victory Bell here, and the opponent's going to come in with a Blaziken, but this is actually a positive matchup for the Shadow Victory Bell. Leaf Blade going to do so much damage despite being resisted. It grabs a shield, and actually, whilst I could have thrown earlier, grab both shields, instead, I'm just going to commit to a full acid farm down. Coming out with very close to back-to-back Leaf Blades loaded once again. The opponent's going to come in with a Clodsire, absolutely fine with me. We're going to go for the Leaf Blade there. My switch clock is very nearly up, so I'm actually going to swap out. The opponent makes a very nice catch there, catching a Bulldoze back onto Credilli, but it drops the defense there, and that is absolutely fine with me. At this point, I'm not going to use my final shield. Instead, gonna no shield. They actually do grass knot me, but we get that Dragon Tail farm down because of the Bulldoze defense drop. And now we can full send the Outrage. Outrage does in fact get shielded. Maybe should have just gone for the Bulldoze there. Either way, doesn't really make a difference. I can shield my Oddish, go straight for a Seed Bomb, and then I do have a Leaf Blade already loaded on my Shadow Victory Bell. So Seed Bomb is able to connect. We can snipe with the Leaf Blade from the Shadow Victory Bell, and of course, it gets the KO from that range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. I can see a Shadow Swampert in the lead. So I'm going to swap out straight away into Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm met with a Talonflame. Now here, I've got a bit of a decision to make. What I could do is full send the Sludge Bomb. However, the opponent's likely to shield, so what maybe I could have done instead is just go for back-to-back Leaf Blades. And whilst, yes, Leaf Blade wouldn't do much damage, what it would do is maybe put them into range where Zygarde can just come in and fully Dragon Tail farm them down. I'm going to no-shield the first move. The opponent does go for Fly there. You can see Fly does quite a lot of damage up against the Zygarde. I'm going to need to shield the next charge move here. And of course, if I'd have gone for Leaf Blade, I probably could have committed to a full farm down. But the opponent actually going to swap out of that matchup into their Credilli. Now, I go for the Outrage. Outrage connects. It does big damage. The opponent goes for Grass Knot, which does get the KO there, unfortunately. And Oddish just barely not able to get the Acid Farm down, which means I'm going to be permanently debuffed. I need to shield this, otherwise they can just Incinerate farm me down. I will reach back-to-back charge moves up against the Talonflame. However, since they've debuffed my attack, I have to full send the Sludge Bomb right now as a Seed Bomb double resisted. It would not get the KO, and now, unfortunately, I'm just too low. Shadow Swampert can come back in, and even a Hydro Cannon from this range very comfortably gets the KO here. The opponent does go for the Hydro Cannon, and unfortunately Oddish will be going down there, and I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into the final battle of this video, seeing a Shadow Pidgeot in the lead, which is fine with me. I'm actually going to go for a Bulldoze straight away, and the opponent might end up shielding this, expecting a crunch. They do shield, and I drop the defense, which is really nice for me. At this point, if they full send a Brave Bird, then fair play. I can farm down with my back Pokemon, but they go for Air Cutter. So this point, I think I'm just going to no-shield this, and I'm going to come in with my Oddish. Now, the opponent actually swaps out straight away into Furret. That's fine with me. Unfortunately, they will still outpace me to this first charge move. I recognize I'm only going to reach one move here with my Oddish, so I might as well full send a Sludge Bomb and then swap into my Shadow Victory Bell, happy to shield once, and then commit to a full Acid Farm down. The The opponent fires off the Swift there, fine with me. We can commit to that farm down. Of course, Pidgeot is still reasonably healthy. We will tank probably one Gust, but the opponent's going to swap catch the move. So we're going to undercharge this to the point where one Acid will get the farm down. I don't take any damage from the Gust, which is huge for me. And now I farm up to back-to-back Leaf Blades. First one grabs that final shield, and a second Leaf Blade will comfortably get the KO from this range up against the Shadow Blaziken, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.